Hey everyone, today we're going to be using a sort of pseudo coil crochet to make some rustic placemats. So let's get started. So I'm going to be using an H hook, that's a 5mm crochet hook, weight 4 cotton yarn, and I'm going to be using this rope, which is 3 yards, and it is 3/8 inch thick. And you get 3 yards, and I bought 2 of those. I would suggest with making these, you buy your rope in bulk, and I'll get into that later. So we're going to be starting with just a normal magic ring. So all your stitches and like crocheting on this is going to be really easy. Like we're just working in single crochets, and all we're doing is going around the rope. It's not too bad once you get going. So once you get your magic ring done, you're going to place the end of your rope at the beginning, I guess, of your magic ring. And this first stitch is the trickiest, and after this it's all downhill in a good way. So we are just going to yarn over and bring up a loop around the yarn, and then of course yarn over again and pull through your 2 loops in a standard everyday single crochet. Again, all that's different is we're going to be going around a piece of rope all the way through this thing, right? And so one more time, it's going to be, I'm kind of tightening it here, and make sure you have a lot of extra slack. It's just going to be bringing up a loop around the yarn and then yarn over and through those 2 loops again. So now we're at 2 single crochet, and here is a third. And I think in total on this first round, or row, I guess, I'm working in the rows here. I'm going to do 14 stitches, but just do as many as fits your rope, really. There's no right or wrong number here. Also, I would suggest your first stitch, and here's a close-up of my first 5 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would suggest putting your first stitch closer towards the end of that end of the rope, really. I'm starting a little high up and I'm trying to pull it down here. So just kind of start as close to the ends as you can, and then it'll start, you're gonna have to add stitches as you go, and I'll get into that later because, like, please learn from my mistakes. This whole video is a learning process for me. I've never done coil crochet before. But I'll show you a couple of ways that I added stitches onto the end of each row. And so anyway, once you're happy with as many stitches as you want, we're going to be pulling pull your magic ring tight like normal. And then this is going to be your first little upside down U of kind of the rainbow shape we're going for with this one. I just love how like neutral colored rainbows are like in the meta right now. And so that's what I decided to do for these placemats. I will say doing a circle or a rectangle is 1000% easier. So once you get your first little U, however big you want it, we're going to chain 1 and then turn. And this process is what we're going to be doing for the rest of this placemat. Just repeating this over and over. And so then I smush my rope on there again and make sure the ends are even. That way you get that nice clean rainbow edge. And then all we're gonna do is now we're gonna single crochet through our last single crochets. So just like normal crochet, just around a piece of rope. And then now from here on out, it'll be easier. It's that first couple of stitches that are really tricky. It does get difficult after a little while to hold your rope. I found my hands were getting like really like tight and like kind of crampy a little bit. And so just be sure to take breaks, you know, as needed. It's, you know, there's no rush on this thing, obviously. But yeah, kind of holding the rope can be a little painful after a while. But again, all we're doing is we're just single crocheting through our last row of single crochets around this next piece. And so you're gonna do this a million times until you get to the size of placemat that you're after. Right now, the amount of stitches is pretty good. You can see they go towards the ends there. And then those loops of rope, like I just made for this row, we're gonna be cutting those when we're all done. Okay, so we're not gonna be leaving those loops. So another way to do this project is you could just like measure out and cut lengths of rope to get the shape you want, and then crochet them together, which, you know, may be more difficult or easier depending. Part of me kind of wishes I did that, but we're doing it this way here. And then it kind of mitigates like measuring and things like that. And so once again, I got to the end of my row, and then I'm just like folding the rope in half again there to turn it. And then just single crochet, chain one, and single crochet across again. You're gonna have like all different number of stitches, because what I found was a good idea to sometimes increase, you know, do a single crochet increase like midway through the row, just to make sure that your yarn is like at the ends of the rope. Otherwise it'll start pulling towards the center because you'll like run out of stitches, and you'll see that that happened to me. Like I said, this is all a learning process, and you know, really I just watched like a 2-second video on the magic ring technique to start this thing, and I was like, oh, okay, got it, and just ran with it. So this is my first like dive into coil crochet, and it's pretty fun. It's like cool how like you can see the rope through the stitches, and it looks pretty neat, and you know, I like the vibe of it and everything. I did this because I am needing placemats, and so I'm like, oh, I'll make them like an idiot. And the problem is though, is like I said earlier, like if you're gonna make a set of placemats, I would really suggest buying like a big I don't know what a big thing of rope is called, but a big spool of rope on like Amazon or something, because you can get like 100 yards for 20 bucks at this thickness. I've already looked it up. Versus this is again only 3 yards, and this little piece of like kind of craft rope is marked up to $5. So this placemat cost me 10 bucks to make, and then plus the cost of yarn, which was like $1.50. I just got all my supplies at Walmart, but my God, $5 for 3 little yards of just jute rope. Like, it's nothing special. So I would really suggest buying in bulk. It'll save you a ton of money, because I need 6 of these, and I am not about to spend 60 bucks on this project. The whole point is to save money when we make things ourselves. And so you can see there that the ends, the last stitches of each row are getting a little high. Okay, and so instead of letting that happen, I think in the next section, I'm gonna show how, personally, I increased my rows at the end, and it's just like adding stitches on the end of whatever row you're on, and kind of crocheting 2 strands of rope together, like the one you're working on anyway, and then the one right below it. Keeping the yarn even across the whole thing will just like make it look tidier, basically, and hold your yarn together. And then you might be able to skip at the very end. I had to bust out my hot glue gun and hot glue some ends together to help with the shape and stuff. And so I'm just doing one more row right here, you know, standard. And I think the next section we're going to be adding stitches. And again, it's just as easy as this whole, there's nothing crazy going on, right? So here we go. I'm at the end of that row, and I'm going to do 2 ways here. I'm going to do just a single crochet around the one rope itself. See, And then I'm going to undo those because I want these two pieces of rope closer together. So first I'm doing it like this and just single crocheting down, and this would be good if the row before it was long enough, but it isn't. But you'll see this is how you get your yarn back to the ends of the placemat for like just a cleaner edge. And then same thing as before, you just chain one and you'll turn it. And then continue on if your row is like good enough. But you see how wobbly they all are, and they obviously don't stick together because they're not connected anyway. So I decided to frog those few stitches, and what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to single crochet around these two pieces of rope. You know, it looks fine when it's all said and done, but it just holds the rope together a little bit better. So maybe you can kind of mitigate any hot gluing you're going to need to do later, because I had to do a little bit more than I wanted to. But here you go. So that's like 5 or 6 stitches or so, just until I get to the ends, right? And then you'll chain one and just continue on as normal, basically. So see how that looks? It looks like just the rest of the project. But because I did it late, you can see the ends of the other pieces of rope. So be sure to stay on top of this. Like I said, this was all a learning experience for me, so don't copy my mistakes, but learn from me. And then boom, right back to normal. And so I'm just single crocheting through all those and then across just like the rest of the project. And then again here at the end of this row, I'm doing the same thing I just showed you, crocheting around those two pieces of rope, then chain one and turn, just to hold them together a little bit better and to clean up the edges. And then after finishing that up, I'm just kind of flattening it out a little bit and going to show off what I have so far. And like I said, I got 2 pieces of rope, and so once I finished up the rest of one strand of rope, I just kind of started the same as before and put the end of my second piece of rope at the beginning single crochet of the next row around, and then just repeat it as necessary. And then here I'm just cutting all of those loops in half, basically. It also took a little bit doing it. My hand was like pretty cramped from holding the rope itself, and it's thick and my scissors aren't sharp enough, so this was fun. Anyway, but I got all those cut, and then now I'm going over the ends and just hot gluing them together. Be really careful. I burned myself a lot. So, I mean, I guess that just kind of comes with hot gluing, but I'm just putting a little bit of glue on the side of one piece of yarn and gluing the one next to it like gluing them up against each other, basically. I'm not doing it to the 2 very center pieces because, again, it's a rainbow and there's supposed to be like a little gap right there. So just like making my way across, and then this will, because when it was finished, it was a little too wide. This will like help the rainbow kind of take shape, basically. Just kind of pull everything in, right? And so it's pretty simple. The hot glue does the trick. It holds the rope together well, which is good. You can see a tube of E6000 glue back there, and that didn't work at all. I don't know why it just wasn't sticky enough. It was not holding at all. So always go with hot glue. It's like the crafter's ultimate friend, right? And so again, just like flattening it out, and then when I have everything glued, I'm fraying the edges here a little bit, just like with my hands. Just kind of like picking them apart with my fingers, and like pulling strands apart and giving this like kind of final little bit finished look. The strands, if they're not all messed up like that, it looks kind of weird, but this kind of fills in any gaps. And here is the finished placemat. I've got to make 5 more of these things, so hopefully I'll listen to my own advice and make them right. Thanks for watching.